Islam Dewayne Byfield-Bey. It is March the 30th, 2019. I'm at Whole Foods in Annapolis, Maryland. As a Hebrew Muslim, sorry, I think you heard someone behind me. I'm at Whole Foods. I think someone, it looked like a Spanish male, might have said he left you. I'm not sure, but that's not included in the video. He looked to be Spanish speaking. I'm not sure, but that's not included in this video as I'm reading. I'm going to read, and this, thank goodness, is a part of our Bill of Rights. You have to be in a constitutional fold in order for the Bill of Rights or the 10 Amendments of the Constitution to apply to you. When you're not in a constitutional fold, you're not recognized by the Constitution, and the Constitution is what the jurisdiction as Moorish Americans are under, who are striving to pursue their actual freedom. So let me continue. As a Hebrew Muslim and as a Moorish American, I am, and as I said before, in the other jurisdiction, there's a lot of unclean, filthy, demonic spirits beyond our imagination. Filthy. And there's unclean spirits in the jurisdiction of freedom as well, but not as many. They're more corruption, Islam. So as I continue, because I already spent a minute and 38 seconds saying that, I'm going to read the Holy Quran as your wife this last time. And one of the thoughts I had today was why the Moors in Spain was expelled in 1492. What caused Moors to be expelled from Spain in 1492? These are my thoughts this morning. Okay, so I'm going to start off by reading the Quran. I think I said everything. And I always like to state that Imani Gray-Bey and I, Rhonda Arrington-Bey, don't know anyone personally in Annapolis, Maryland. We try to give everyone their respect and keep our boundaries, but we understand there are masses of people all over the earth, but right now we're in Annapolis, Maryland, who have the science of telepathy, but they are not in the constitutional fold. And so because they're not in the constitutional fold or have been naturalized properly, they are vulnerable to be used as spiritual terrorists. They are vulnerable to be used as a slave, as spiritual terrorists as well, and mental terrorists and physical terrorists, because they're not even considered to be human. Because you have to be naturalized to be properly to be in the constitutional fold, where you are navigating with rights, R-I-G-H-T, and not privileges. Okay. So that's by me saying that this morning, it helps keep me balanced, so I don't take spiritual attacks personally, because a lot of them are coming from slaves. These spirits are slaves. Some of them are possessed. So a lot of them are possessed. So it is really chaotic in the jurisdiction. So let me continue. That's 3 minutes and 50 seconds. In the name of Allah, I'm going to first start off by reading the Quran. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Requital. Thee do we serve, and Thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, and not those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. And now I'm going to reread chapter 2, starting with section 35. How dead nations are raised to life. It says, Hast thou not thought of him who disputed with Abraham about his Lord, because Allah had given him kingdom? When Abraham said, my Lord, is he who gives life and cause to die? He said, I give life and cause death. Abraham said, surely Allah caused the sun to rise from the east, so do thou make it rise from the west. Thus he who disbelieved was confounded, and Allah guides not the unjust people. Or like him who passed by a town, and it had fallen in upon its roofs. He said, when will Allah give in life after its death? So Allah caused him to die for 100 years, then raised him. He said, how long hast thou tarried? He said, I have tarried a day, a part of a day. He said, nay, thou hast tarried 100 years. But look at thy food and drink, years have not passed over it. And look at thy ass, and that we may make thee a sign to men. And look at the bones, how we set them together, then clothe them with flesh. So when it became clear to him, he said, I know that Allah is possessor of power over all things. I'm going to reread that again. Okay, once again, this is section 35 of the Holy Quran, chapter 2, the cow. He says, hast thou not thought, and it's the heading or the title is how dead nations are raised to life. Hast thou not thought of him who disputed with Abraham about his Lord? Because Allah had given him kingdom. When Abraham said, my Lord, is he who gives life and cause to die? He said, I give life and cause death. Abraham said, surely Allah caused the sun to rise from the east, so do thou make it rise from the west. Thus he who disbelieved was confounded, and Allah guides not the unjust people. Where's my tissue? Or like him who passed by a town. Right now I'm feeling a dull, sharp pain in this left arm, and someone said it's peace more, or it's peace people, or something like that. They sound like. And this is, I give testimony according to Revelations chapter 12, verse 11 and 12. As a Hebrew Muslim, my nationality is Moorish American. Or like him who passed by a town, it had fallen in upon its roofs. He said, when will Allah give it life after its death? So Allah cursed him to die for 100 years, then raised him. He said, how long hast thou tarried? He said, I have tarried a day, a part of a day. He said, nay, thou hast tarried 100 years. But look at thy food and drink, years have not passed over it. And look at thy ass, and that we may make thee a sign to men. And look at the bones, how we set them together, then clothe them with flesh. So when it became clear to him, he said, I know that Allah is possessor of power over all things. And when Abraham said, my Lord, show me how thou givest life to the dead. He said, dost thou not believe? He said, yes, but that my heart may be at ease. He said, then take 4 birds then tame them to incline to thee, that then place on every mountain a part of them, then call them, they will come to thee flying, and know that Allah is mighty, wise. Section 36. Spending money in the cause of truth. The parable of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is as the parable of a grain growing 7 ears, and every ear 100 grains. And Allah multiplies further for whom He pleases. And Allah is ample, giving, knowing. Those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah, then follow not up what they have spent with reproach or injury. Their reward is with their Lord. And slightly I felt the dull, sharp pain here in the back of my cranium. I give testimony according to Revelation chapter 12, verse 11 and 12 as a Hebrew Muslim. And Allah is ample, giving, and knowing. Those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah, then follow not up what they have spent with reproach or injury. Their reward is with their Lord, and they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. A kind word with forgiveness is better than charity followed by injury, and Allah is self-sufficient, forbearing. O you who believe, make not your charity worthless by reproach and injury, like him who spends his wealth to be seen of men and believes not in Allah and the last day. So his parable is as the parable of a smooth rock with earth upon it. Then heavy rain falls upon it, so it leaves it there. They are not able to gain anything of that which they earn, and Allah guides not the disbelieving people. And the parable of those who spend their wealth to seek Allah's pleasure and for the strengthening of their souls is as the parable of a garden on elevated ground, upon which heavy rain falls. So it brings forth its fruit twofold. But if heavy rain falls not on it, light rain suffices. And Allah is seer of what you do. Does one of you like, as someone coughed, I felt another sharp dull pain in the back of my cranium. I run to Arrington-Bey as a Hebrew Muslim. I'm giving testimony. I'm at Whole Foods in Annapolis, Maryland, as a Hebrew Muslim, Islam. And Allah is seer of what you do. Does one of you like, and Allah is seer of what you do. This is verse 265 of the Holy Quran, chapter 2, section 36. Does one of you like to have a garden of palms and vines with streams flowing in it? He has there in all kinds of fruit, and old age has overtaken him, and he has weak offspring. When lo, let me read that again. It says, does one of you like to have a garden of palms and vines with streams flowing in it? He has there in all kinds of fruit, and old age have overtaken him, and he has weak offspring. When lo, a whirlwind with fire in it smites it, so it becomes blasted. Thus Allah makes the messages clear to you, that you may reflect. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I'm at 14 minutes. It's long.